In the first part of this story, we saw a merchant ship transport passengers, but it tragically crashed onto a desolate planet. We were introduced to Riddick, Caroline, Jonas, Imam, and his three sons Jackie, his wife Paris, and Jake. In this unique solar system where three suns shone, night only fell once every 22 years. During this dreaded darkness, lethal creatures emerged. Only Riddick, Imam, and Jake managed to survive and escape from the planet. In this video, we will delve into another chapter of the story. Our story now introduces us to an advanced civilization called the Necromongers. They're notorious for their brutal attacks on other planets, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. The Necromongers, a strict race with a vast army and formidable weaponry, hold dominion over all the habitable planets in the universe. The Necromongers are led by Lord Marshall, an individual imbued with unique powers, having returned from a mysterious place in the universe known as the Underverse. Half alive and half dead, Lord Marshall leads his people with a single goal in mind. When they attack a planet, its human inhabitants are given two choices: convert and become slaves to the Necromongers, or face certain death. Their ultimate vision is to build a race destined to venture into the Underverse. We will gain more clarity on this later. The scene then shifts to another desolate planet where we see a man, Riddick, being pursued. He is on the run from a ship helmed by a bounty hunter named Toms. A substantial reward has been offered for Riddick's capture, and Toms, along with his crew, is determined to seize him. However, capturing him proved to be a formidable challenge, as Riddick is both incredibly swift and intelligent. He strategically hides in a tunnel and begins to eliminate the ship's crew members one by one. Eventually, he infiltrates the ship and confronts Toms. Under threat, Riddick inquires about the source of his bounty. Toms admits that he doesn't know who set the reward, only that the individual is from the planet Hellion Prime. With this information, Riddick commandeers the ship, leaving Tom stranded on the barren planet, and sets his course for Hellion Prime. Knowing the journey is long, Riddick enters a state of cryosleep, during which he experiences a peculiar dream about a woman speaking of a man, a dream we will come to understand later. The scene then shifts to a prison where a particularly dangerous prisoner is brought in and incarcerated. After an extensive voyage, Riddick finally arrives at Hellion Prime. Initially, a plane approaches him seeking information. Riddick crashes this ship and, upon landing, goes directly to his old friend Imam, whom he had previously saved. As it turns out, it was Imam who had sent the bounty hunter, and Riddick is eager to understand why. At Imam's house, an intense conversation ensues between the two. Riddick inquires about the bounty, and Imam informs him about the menacing civilization threatening the universe. The Necromongers, who are relentlessly wreaking havoc and enslaving planets. Shortly after, others arrive at Imam's residence, including an elderly woman from a distinct race known as the Elementals. They possess unique abilities such as foresight and understanding the balance of the universe. This woman informs Riddick that years ago, Lord Marshall had been on a destructive spree, obliterating every planet in his path. We foresaw that an Alpha Furion from the planet Furia would end Lord Marshall's reign, a prophecy that led him to lay claim to Furia and slaughter all its Furion inhabitants. However, one Furion managed to survive, and we know him as Riddick. That's why Riddick is of such significance. It's his destiny to kill the leader of this menacing civilization. Riddick, however, doesn't recall anything from his childhood and is largely uninterested in this prophecy. But this was Imam's intent, to bring Riddick to a place of understanding. Just as the soldiers discover an unauthorized visitor, they begin to search Imam's house. Although uninterested, Riddick inquires about Jake, the girl we met at the start of the story. Imam informs him that Jake spent 5 years searching for Riddick, eventually turning into a ruthless killer heavily inspired by Riddick himself. Now, she is imprisoned on a hazardous planet named Crematoria. Located dangerously close to a sun, the surface of this planet is uninhabitable, making it an ideal location for a prison from which escape is virtually impossible. Upon hearing this, Riddick grows furious with Imam for not taking better care of Jake. Ignoring Imam's pleas, he leaves. No sooner had Riddick exited than the necromongers launched their attack on Helion Prime. The resulting battle was fierce, but the necromongers' strength was overwhelming. In mere minutes, they seized control of the entire planet. As Riddick attempts to escape, the necromongers spread their forces throughout the area. The necromongers kill and capture people indiscriminately, and amid this chaos, Imam is slain. Despite the ensuing battle, Lord Marshal rounds up the remaining prisoners. Among his ranks is a special man, a Furian who has the ability to convert ordinary people into necromongers, effectively brainwashing them. He is also a high-ranking commander in the army known as Viako, who is accompanied by his wife, Dame. Lord Marshal gives everyone a choice: die or live as necromongers. To instill fear, he executes a man in front of the crowd. This terror tactic works, and everyone kneels before Marshal. Everyone, except Riddick. When Viako approaches and issues a final warning, Riddick defiantly declares that he's not aligned with the necromongers and is here to challenge a specific man, the one responsible for Imam's death. With a knife still tucked in his belt, Riddick engages the man in combat, quickly overcoming him with his speed and strength. This feat impresses Lord Marshal, who gifts Riddick with the knife. Finding Riddick intriguing, he confines him in order to extract more information. While Riddick already knew about the prophecy, Lord Marshal has yet to discover it. To that end, he locks Riddick in a special room where a machine reveals Riddick's true identity. He is a Furian, a member of the race whose planet was obliterated by Lord Marshal. Furthermore, the prophecy foretells that an Alpha Furion will end Lord Marshal's reign. Upon learning this, Lord Marshal orders Riddick's execution. However, Riddick manages to escape. As he flees, he encounters the bounty hunter Toms, who attempts to recapture him. This time, however, Riddick willingly surrenders, having a different plan in mind. He needs to leave the planet, and Toms and his crew, eager to profit from his capture, are discussing which prison to take him to. Cleverly, Riddick suggests crematoria, where they stand to gain a larger reward. They agree, setting course for the dangerous planet we heard about earlier. Meanwhile, we return to the necromongers, focusing on Viako and his wife. In actuality, the necromongers abide by a principle that states if anyone kills Lord Marshal, they will become the next Lord Marshal, essentially ascending to the throne. Viako and his wife were keen on capitalizing on this rule. Nonetheless, Lord Marshal dispatches his commander to hunt down and eliminate Riddick at any cost. Viako, his wife, and their army also set their course for crematoria. Eventually, they discover why Lord Marshal fears Riddick so much. The prophecy. This prompts Viako's wife to suggest that Viako should kill Riddick first, because if Riddick manages to slay Lord Marshal, he'll assume command of the necromongers. So, Viako sets out to eliminate Riddick. Simultaneously, we see Tom's ship reaching the inhospitable planet of Crematoria and making its landing. They transport Riddick through a tunnel into the prison. However, the deal between the prison's warden and Tom's falls through due to a disagreement over the bounty. Forced to spend the night on this hostile planet, Tom's and his companions hunker down. Surviving on the surface of Crematoria is possible only during a brief period when the sun isn't shining at its full intensity. Upon Riddick's arrival in prison, the other inmates challenge him. Riddick, being an indomitable adversary, quickly overpowers them. He then comes face to face with Jack, who has dramatically changed. She's hardened, angry at Riddick for not keeping in touch over the past 5 years. Yet Riddick had intentionally distanced himself from her, hoping she would stay innocent. We are then given a glimpse of the harsh realities of life in this prison. Some of the inmates are introduced to Riddick, followed by a daunting food procurement process. Dangerous beasts are unleashed on the prisoners. They must kill these beasts and consume them to survive. More often, the beasts end up hunting them. During one such encounter, Riddick uses eye contact to assert dominance over a ferocious creature. Meanwhile, Vayako's wife summons an oracle aboard their ship. She threatens the oracle to extract all the information she needs. Vayako's wife learns about Riddick's prophecy and other details, later instructing Vayako that he must eliminate the oracle at any cost, or he will become a king himself. Meanwhile, Riddick confronts some troublemakers in the prison and takes one of them out using a teacup. The following day, the prison warden learns that Riddick was actually a captive of the necromongers, and they are coming to retrieve him. If the necromongers arrive, they will undoubtedly kill everyone. Outraged, the warden executes all of Tomza's crew members and, with all their money, prepares to flee the impending onslaught. In prison, Riddick concocts an escape plan. He ropes in Jack and a few other inmates. On this planet, conditions are bearable for only a brief period each day. They must make their move during this window, or they will either be incinerated by the sun or frozen by the nighttime chill. After much effort and dodging tight security, they manage to break free. Riddick leaves Toms behind in the prison, but does not kill him. Upon escaping, they find the sun about to set and they begin their run. A burst of sunlight forces them to take shelter among rocks, but the light is so intense they risk being scorched. Jack faces imminent danger, but Riddick saves her using a rope, allowing them to leap from the cliff to the ground below. Unfortunately, some of their comrades are left behind and succumb to the blistering heat. Their plan is to commandeer the incoming necromonger ship. However, upon reaching the ship, they find that Vayako has brought a considerable force with him, making the task difficult. A battle ensues, and at one point, Riddick falls unconscious due to the scorching sunlight, once again seeing the same woman in his dreams. As the sun's heat intensifies, everyone scatters. Jack survives, but it seems as if Riddick has perished, consumed by the sunlight. Vayako, along with his crew and Jack, retreats. After their departure, we see that the Purifier has managed to rescue Riddick and takes him to a cave for safety. The Purifier, it turns out, is a Furian himself. When his race was wiped out, he reluctantly allied himself with Lord Marshall. However, when he discovered the prophecy and met Riddick, he pledged to protect him in order to avenge his people. After disclosing this, the Purifier steps into the sunlight and sacrifices himself, leaving the responsibility of his race to Riddick. Motivated by this revelation, and out of concern for Jack, Riddick travels to the Hellion prime planet using Tomb's ship. On the other hand, Vayako informs Lord Marshall that he has eliminated Riddick. They were about to obliterate the planet when word spreads that Riddick is alive, and indeed, he was there, laying waste to their forces. Eventually, Riddick confronts Lord Marshall, challenging him to combat. Riddick discovers Jack, who was undergoing conversion into a necromonger. Her eyes had changed color, and she was unresponsive. A fierce battle ensues between Lord Marshall and Alpha Furion. Riddick. Lord Marshall is formidable. He controls both his physical form and soul, gaining the upper hand over Riddick. Vayako and his wife were increasingly concerned that Riddick might kill Marshall. Not wanting to miss this opportunity, Vayako prepares to intervene. Just as Riddick seems to be on the verge of defeat, Jack, not yet fully converted, assists Riddick and attacks Marshall. However, Marshall is not easily defeated and he flings Jack aside, severely wounding her. In the ensuing chaos, Vayako seizes the opportunity to attack Marshall. Yet, fate favors Riddick, and it is he who kills Marshall, fulfilling the prophecy. Thus, Riddick becomes the king of the necromongers. However, he loses Jack in the process, leaving him in deep sorrow. The story concludes with all the necromongers bowing to their new king, Riddick, marking the end of the movie.